Hello, welcome to Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and today it's the Age of Sigmar Stat Center, which I record every Monday with the Twitch chat. You can see them here. Twitch chat want to say hello to the YouTube people, and if you could leave some comments on this video, just about anything, so the Twitch chat can interact with you, that'd be cool. This weekend, I'm going to be looking at, I think, 418 players playing across 9 different countries is what I'm going to be looking at. Just a little bit of a note at the moment. About the Age of Sigmar stats. So obviously on the Stat Center, what I do is I look at the event results from the weekend, and I look at all of the games that have been played, and I look at the list in the 5-0 bracket and the 4-1 bracket. We talk about it. So I'm about to do. Normally we talk about. Normally I also feature or talk about the stats, which we have on the TSN stats blog, which is on thehonestwargamer.com. But we haven't updated those for the past 3 months or so, and that's just basically because our team, or the people specifically who, some portion of our team, haven't been particularly well. This means we haven't updated it, and we have been waiting for those people to get better, and now it looks like it's going to be something that we're just going to move along and get and involve more people in the project to make it be something that is available to the whole community again. First thing I'll do is apologize that has not been something that's been updated or been kept up with. Because that's just something that's obviously very sad for us as a community. But please also don't forget that it's a free thing that has been freely available for everyone online. And so any rude comments or thoughts that are directed towards us because we haven't just done a job for free, and a much better job than Games Workshop have ever done on this subject and have been doing for 5 or 6 years. There was also a time a few years ago where the person who previously did the stats when we started this was about 6 years ago, because it's our 6th birthday, Honest Wargamer's 6th birthday this week. Please do clap and applaud. 6 years ago, when we started doing the Honest Wargamer, we did the stats. Eventually, after a couple of years, our stats guy also got a little bit sick and ended up taking a break. And that's very okay. That's very okay. What we want is a community that's healthy, and we want people in that community to be well. And if that means that we don't do some bits sometimes, I'm all for that. I'd rather that my friends and people felt healthy and well, and I'd also prefer that you people feel healthy and well. So if you ever felt burnt out by the game, burnt out by information, or burnt out by anything else, number 1, go talk to your friends and hang out. Yeah. And number 2, don't stress. It's just a game. It's a game I'm passionate about and a game you're passionate about, but it isn't a game that people need to be insulting people over, because that's silly. Anyway, now let's go talk about all these idiots playing these rubbish lists that I would never play. And I hope you enjoy the Age of Sigmar Stat Center this week. Loads of love from me to you. The first event that we're going to cover is Malmo. Malmo. Oh, no, it's not even called Malmo. Oh, I messed it up straight away. Malmo Wargaming Weekend 7. So this happens in Malmo in Sweden. It's right on the border, so if you do want to go, it happens every year, so go check it out. 42 players were playing at this event, with 200 players playing across the entire game system. There was also things like awards for coolest army, and check out this amazing big pig that got painted up, including old school freehand banner. So you got to love that. Oh, and even running away guy from the giant kit, and some spilled eggs. Oh my god, what an amazing one. I know it's the Age of Sigmar Stat Center, but guess what? I also like miniatures, so that's pretty cool. He did that very fast, whoever did that, so that's great. Anyway, 42 players, and the event, now this is probably going to upset the Swedish guys and girls, but the event was won by a Norwegian, Giverdeld, with his Slaves to Darkness army. Gear also won Best Sports, which we kind of call, the holy combo, because winning Best Sports and also doing well at the event is normally impossible to do. And so doing both means you are a treasure, because that means the 5 people whose asses you kicked thought that you were wicked to play against, and that's actually quite hard to achieve. So he's got Knights of the Empty Throne, which is obviously run and charge, and Varangard become battle line. Then Bellacor's in there. Bellacore obviously shuts down enemy units. It's like a debuff piece, stops an enemy unit from being able to activate. Chaos Sorcerer Lord, which is undivided with Hoarfrost, obviously, because that's very good on Varangard. And then Exalted Hero of Chaos with Master of Magic and the Arcane Tome. And the thing to say here is that he's taken the Grand Strategy Spellcasting Savant. He's seeing this a lot in lists at the moment, specifically because, and importantly because, it's fairly easy to achieve, because someone has to go and hunt down that little character. I know a bunch of people, shout out to Owen, who are then hiding their spellcasting savants behind pieces of faction terrain, so they're actually impossible to get. This has become fairly common. So that's what that Exalted Hero of Chaos is doing. And then 6 Varangard with Mark of Khorne, 3 Varangard with Mark of Khorne twice, and then 5 Chaos Knights with the Mark of Khorne and the Banner of Rage, so they've got all those extra attacks, and then 9 of the Unmade, and that's it. 1 drop, all go. That's a lot of combat, and that's a lot of attacks. Also, don't forget, most of this army, the Varangard, are all piling and attacking twice. They've all got a great armor save, and you could shut down the enemy units as well. So just a really fast, punchy army, and just really cool. Really cool to see, and congratulations to Gear. Looking at the 4-1s, and we've got a bit of a smorgasbord of destruction. Constantine Kellis with his Pig War. So this is a Big War list with Gobsprak. It features a lot. Obviously, Gobsprak shuts down enemy units really nicely, especially the spellcasters. Then he's got a War Chanter, a Weird Knob Shaman, who obviously adds +1 damage onto Ironjaw's units, a Snatcher Boss on Sludgeraker Beast, who is in itself a very good damage piece, very good fighter unit, and he's also got the Egomaniac, so he's a little bit more survivable, and then a Wurgog Prophet with Glowing Tattoos, which again is very cookie cutter because it does that big Care Bear stare, or it's got a hero phase ability to do a load of mortal wounds with the potential of wiping out any unit in the game. It's very, very good. Then 2 units of Gut Rippers for Battle Line, and then 5 Uruk Brutes. And then, as we've seen, and is very popular at the minute, sorry, I've just clicked off that, oh no, Rob, what have you done? one second, chat. Is a unit of 6 Brute Ragers and a unit of 3 Brute Ragers. And these are, again, very good. And the reason that they're very good is because of the sheer volume of output that you can get for 200 points. Unit 6 for 200 points will just do some amazing damage. And I think these are going to be really popular. And they are already being popular on the tabletop. And then you've got 3 Uruk Gore Grunters. And finally, you've got the Pig Gouger. So this is the Big Pig, the 180 points one. This is the one I did talk about, the one you would see being used in competitive games because he's got the ability to strike and then make your opponent strike last, which is very good for this mainly combat-centered army. They're going to want to activate in other places and then go again. So this is so important. Like, they're very good. And shout out to Konstantinos. He previously played Khorne. He's a very solid player. Shout out to Joachim Delarus, Flesh Eater Courts, for going 4-1. He is running 2 Abhorrent Arc Regents. This is all in the sub-faction, the Feast Day. Then he's got the Abhorrent Royal King on... Sorry if you're listening to this. I apologise. An Abhorrent Ghoul King on Royal Terrorgeist, which is 450 points. Then a Crypt Haunter Courtier, twice 2 of those. Then 10 Crypt Ghouls, 2 units of 6 Crypt Horrors, and then 9 Crypt Horrors in total. Now, this is how Flesh Eater Courts have played forever. You stack a bunch of buffs on a unit, you make them fight twice, and then you summon a bunch of other stuff. So you basically start with like 2,500 points, then you just try and fight everything and make it all die before you die. You've also got a lot of healing in this list as well. It's very good. There's lots of like healing and putting models back into units with the Crypt Haunter Courtiers. So a lot of recursion. Rasmus Helkvist is running an incredible and completely unique Slaves to Darkness Kabbalist army, which I think is very, very good. He's running the Slaves to Darkness Demon Prince, and then he's got a Chaos Lord on Karkadrak, a Chaos Lord on Karkadrak, an Exalted Hero of Chaos, and a Chaos Sorcerer Lord. Now, this is one of those lists that really needs looking at in detail because everyone's a wizard in this. And he's got a Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Karkadrak with Blizzard. He's got another one. They've both got Blizzard, both of his Karkadraks. Then he's got Hoarfrost as well, twice on Exalted Hero of Chaos and a Chaos Sorcerer Lord. Then he's got 10 Chaos Knights. Someone in the chat asked about the profile on Chaos Knights. When they've got the Mark of Nurgle like they have in this, it's 30 wounds, that's -1 to be wounded, and with the banner, the eroding icon, it's -1 to your rend. So you just really struggle to get through this unit, especially when they have a 5 ward save against mortal wounds. They're just tough, and they're very difficult to deal with. 2 units of pre-game move Untamed Beasts, so they're creating some space at the beginning. 6 Furies, which are incredibly popular right now for being able to activate and charge onto objectives. And then 6 Varangard with the Mark of Khorne, fighting twice, +1 attack on the charge, just a ton of damage. Just very, very good. Also a very unique list. Very unique. Slaves to Darkness Demon Prince, very rarely taken, which I think is very interesting. Then Chaos Lords on Karkadrak, never taken at all, really. But to see them taken in this list is really fun. They're quite fighty, they've got good presence, and they can activate in line with Chaos Knights and Varangard, which is good as well. Okay, Felix Bjornberg was running Ogre Moor Tribes, Boulderhead, and he has a Huskard and Stonehorn, and then a Thundertusk Beast Rider, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Stonehorn Beast Riders. Now, it has been mentioned in the chat, and as I'm recording this with the Twitch chat, we've had this kind of ongoing conversation in the chat, that yes, Ogres are an incredibly good army, specifically the monster truck variant. I don't think at any point there's been a conversation around Ogres being not good. In fact, at the launch of Ogre book, Ogres were considered to be a little bit overpowered, specifically because of obviously their cannons. But I think since then it's been pretty common to always see that Frostlord on Stonehorn do incredible work. That's not in this list. Instead, we've got a Huskard on Stonehorn instead. But it just always does a lot of damage. There's shooting from the Blood Vultures, always killing a character. There's mortal wound impact hits, and then there's the actual combat, as well as being very fast and holding objectives. The problem is they've never really hit that 5-0 mark. They do sometimes, but rarely, and I consider them to be more of a gatekeeper list that they literally guard dog the 4-1 section. And you have to skip them. I very rarely doubt you'll be playing them in the final, but you might. I think they normally lose a game earlier in the day somehow, and I think it's because of terrain and also just different units playing against them. It'd be interesting to kind of deep dive this, I think, in some ways, so I might do that in the future, especially with the release of the new Army of Renown featuring the Gorges. Might be a really nice time to go back and look at Ogres and kind of have a better conversation about them. But they're definitely a very strong army. And to back that up, Eric Sora, with his Ogre Moor Tribes in the chat, was using the subfaction Winterbite, which is -1 to be shot in your territory, and also your battle line Yetis and Icefell Dogs. They're not called that. Frost Sabers. You can't see them outside of 12 inches. He has an Icebrow Hunter, a Firebelly, Frosthorn Stonehorn, a Huskard and Stonehorn, and then 2 Stonehorn Beast Riders. So 4 big monsters, and then 3 units of 2 Frost Sabers, and the Icebrow Hunter, and the Firebelly. So you've got some other little bits for grabbing objectives. But again, just in that 4-1 bracket. Samuel Jansen with his Uruk Warclans running Big War. Uruk Weir Nob Shaman. The Mega Boss on foot with the Destroyer, very common, a really good duelist character for 140 points, which Games Workshop would take note and make more Mega Boss on foot style characters. Wargod Prophet with, as I've talked about before, the Mortal Wound laser attack, Swampcaller Shaman, 2 Uruk War Chanters, and then 2 units of 5 Brutes, 10 Arboys, and then 2 units of Gore Grunters. 1 is a unit of 6, 1 is a unit of 3, and then 6 Manskewer Bolt Boys. And again, this is just about all of those different elements doing all of their jobs. The Brutes and the Gore Grunters doing loads of great combat damage in the midboard, as well as the Manskewer Bolt Boys. And then when you do get in range of the midboard, you're going to be suffering thanks to the Wargog Prophet, and also even the Uruk Mega Boss, which I think is fun as well. And then Jonas Fredriksson with his Soulblight Gravelords, running Manfred, who's incredibly popular at the minute, a Necromancer, this is all in Legion of the Night, a Vampire Lord, 30 Death Rattle Skeletons, 10 Direwolves, 2 units of 3 Fellbats, 20 Graveguard, and another 20 Graveguard. So 2 big blocks of Graveguard, the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, Manfred on Zombie Dragon, and that's all the output. So yeah, big threats, lots of big threats, 2 or 3 big threats, and then lots of other pieces, specifically the Death Rattle Skeletons for holding objectives. Sweden, which is where this event was, has always been a hotbed of lists and players. Don't forget, Sweden came 3rd at Age of Sigmar Worlds this year. The Norwegians, the Danes, there's a big community around there, and they're all playing against each other, and their skill level and also their lists are just improving rapidly. Very rapidly. It's a really fun place to go and look at lists and how it's all working, especially because they're different communities traveling not that far to go see each other, which is really fun. So shout out to all the people that did really well, and also to those communities, because they're really cool, and it'd be lovely to go over there at some point. Our next event is taking us over to Germany for the I Lay Low the Tyrants Grand Tournament, organised by Jun Yinko. And we had 2 5-0s at this event, and for Destruction fans, we got 2 more Destruction bros up there. We got Dario Groman with his Big War list, and Tristan Paffenholz with his Glutespike Gits, Jaws of Mork. Our Big War list has got Gobsprak, a War Chanter, a Weird Knob Shaman, and then that Wargog Prophet, that Cookie Cutter Wargog Prophet. And then 10 Brutes, 10 more Brutes, 5 more Brutes, 5 more Brutes. So in total, 30 Brutes. 10 Hogrot Splitters, and then 2 units of Uruk Gore Grunters. So it's effectively an Iron Jaws army with that incredibly high-value Wargog Prophet, Also doing Hoarfrost as well, which is very, very funny in there. And then Gobsprat for shutting down enemy casters. So really cool. And then in our Gloomspike Gitz army in Jaws of Mork, we've got a Madcap Shaman, a Scragrot, Squig Boss, Grain Crack, 10 Boing Grot Bounders, which will just delete most things, 5 Boing Grot Bounders, 36 Squig Herd, Gobblepalooza, Grint Cracks, Sneaky Snufflers, and a Marsh Crawler Sloggoth. So lots of points have been spent on support units there, you know, like the Squig Boss with Nash's Squig, the Marsh Crawler Sloggoth, and the Gobblepalooza, as well as Grint Crack. You spend a lot of points to make those Boing Grots and a Squig Herd way more effective, but you potentially could have had more units, but didn't need to. Went 5-0 with this list, so massive congratulations to Tristan Paffenholz. Looking at the 4-1s, we've got Benedict Misha with his OCR Bone Reapers Null Myriad. And very much like a lot of the OCR Bone Reapers players have been doing, he pivoted away from the Immortis Guard and has gone into Mortek Guard. Still running Null Myriad, which is really good because obviously that's going to be suppressing the win rate of those Seraphon or even Tzeentch armies, which we very rarely have seen on the top tables at the moment. Then we've got a Mortars and Bone Shaper and a Soul Mason. Still got the Artisan Key on the Bone Shaper, but now we're getting that Dark Acolyte on the Mortars and Soul Mason, I'm assuming, so that we can 100% go get our battle tactic from doing the spell. Some Kavalos Death Riders, and then, as I've said, 30 Mortek Guard with Gothazar Harvester. And then I've still got a unit of Immortis Guard in there as well, which I think is interesting. But I think this is going to be the pivot now. I think instead of having 2 units of 6 Immortis Guard, we're going to get our Mortek Guard and also our Harvester in there, which I think is going to really help. And I think this is still just a solid list. No Myriad is great. Bone Reaper's really good. Catacross is amazing. It's +1 save, +1 to hit, army-wide. It's very good. Very good. Loads of healing. Very good army still, in my personal opinion. Then we got Beast of Chaos All Herd. This is still the player's choice, in my personal opinion. Running Beast of Chaos around. Great Brave Shaman, Dune Bull, and Be'lakor. 6 Bulgor, 2 units of those 6 Bulgor, and then 20 Ungor Raiders, and then 2 units of 10 Ungor, and a Cockatrice. So, deep striking, taking out units, using the Ungor Raiders to create screens. I think they're very matchup dependent. They really struggle into things like Gitz and Soulblight Gravelords. But with Soulblight Gravelords potentially not having quite as many bodies on the board, or maybe not even being as popular, that might mean that these Beasts of Chaos can be a little bit better, in my opinion. Then we got Seraphon, run by Stephen Kitzel. Daniel Brinkett was running Beast of Chaos, by the way. Stefan Kintzel was running Seraphon, and it's pretty much cookie cutter, and it has been cookie cutter since it came out. Seraphon, Fangs of Sotek, Croak, Starmaster, Starseer, Skink Oracle on Troglodon, Astaroth Bannerbearer, and a Starseer, 5 Saurus Guard, 10 Saurus Warriors, and some Skinks with Malevolent Maelstrom and Suffocating Gravetide. So it's just a Croak bomb. All of the output is coming from Croak. You've got Summoning, and you've also got AoE Mortal Wound damage, also from all the spellcasting in there as well. So pretty cool. We did get a different artifact on this though. We didn't get the normal artifact that we get on our Slan. He's still got the normal command trait, which is Lord of Celestial Resonance, but instead we got the Sacred Stegodon helm on the Skink Oracle on Troglodon, meaning he's going to do impact hits like an ogre. It's pretty cool. I quite like that. That's quite fun, especially as you know that's going to be a unit that's forward. So I like that a lot. And then finally, Uli Petret with maybe my favourite list of the week so far in a Nurgle list. Magic Nurgle, Befouling Host. And he's got Horticulate Slimux, Gutrot Spume, and the Glotkin. Then he's got 8 units of Beast of Nurgle, 1 unit of Rotmire Creed, and a unit of Nurglings. And what I really like about this list is it just plays the way it's going to play, but you have a lot of options as the Nurgle player. Obviously, you've got counter charge with the Glotkin, great. You've got reroll charges with Horticulate Slimux on all the Beasts of Nurgle. The Beasts of Nurgle obviously got retreat and charge, and then they've got a charge in and do all the impact hits. You're also producing a lot of summoning because of the Befouling Host with the 2 Narmors and all the summoning, which I think is good. I think this is a really fun and dynamic list, even though obviously it's a lot of Beasts of Nurgle. The kind of utility that you get because of the Glotkin and what the Beast of War Scroll does, and Gutrot as well, because Gutrot lets you deep strike a unit. So you're causing problems all over the whole time. You're trying to protect that very fragile Rotmire Creed unit to keep throwing disease points around as well. It's a very fun list. I really like that. Hope everyone in Germany had a great time at the event. Again, Destruction Bros at the top. Love that. It's pretty cool. My favourite list, definitely that Magikin list as well. Nice to see Beasts of Chaos in there. Bone Reapers just pivoting and doing really well. Cool. Love that. The next event we're going to look at is the SoCal Open, organised by FLG and Scott Reed specifically. Shout out to Scott. And it had 36 players playing at this event. We had two 5-0s. We had Aaron Newbomb and Alec Jerome. Aaron was running a very interesting Idnet Deepkin list, and Alec was also running a very interesting Maggotkin of Nurgle list. So, we've got two really fun lists to look at, which I love. So let's look at Aaron's list first. And he was running Domahane. He had an Ishran Tidecaster and a Battle Mage from the Realm of Gur. So this was still using the old rules for Cities of Sigmar. He then had, which means he would have added pluses to charge and move. And then he had an Achillean Thrallmaster. In fact, he had two Achillean Thrallmasters, which is pretty nuts. You rarely see those. And they have the ability to give the Namati Thralls that are in range of them things like exploding sixes or -1 to be wounded, which is very interesting. And then he had an Eidolon of Mathlan aspect of the Storm in here as well. Then he had a unit of 20 Thralls, another unit of 20 Thralls, a unit of 10 Thralls, and an Achillean Leviathan with a unit of 2 Alapexes. Now, this is a very unique list. Very unique. I've not seen this or anything even approaching this. So this is a definite meta shifter. So shout out to Aaron, who has been working really hard on running a load of different Idnet Deepkin. Previously, he was playing a bunch of Cruel Boys as well and doing really well with those. And I think he should be really proud of himself, not only winning the event, but also doing it with a very unique list that I've rarely seen. So this is one of those kind of not meta shifting lists, but one of those inspiring situations where someone's writing a list that you rarely see. So I think this is very cool. I'd like to maybe talk to Aaron about this in the future. Really interesting to see what his matchups were like, but congratulations. I think that's fun. Also though, I love this Maggotkin of Nurgle list again, being played by Alec Jerome. And he had a Befouling Host list, so again, loads of really good summoning. This is kind of the summoning build for Nurgle. And then he had the Glotkin, who's in a great spot right now, Sloppity Blip-Blop, and then a Poxbringer, and then 20 Plaguebearers, 10 Plaguebearers, 10 Plaguebearers, 10 Plaguebearers. And then he had 2 units of 3 Nurglings, 2 units of 6 Furies, and he had Skabbik's Plague Claw pack. Now, I love a lot about this, specifically because he wasn't greedy. And instead, he went for some tech pieces, which has really helped him out. So he's got 20 Plaguebearers, which is 40 wounds on an objective, and then 3 units of 10 Plaguebearers. So that's another 60 wounds. So 100 wounds in Plaguebearers, right? With the Glotkin making them being able to charge in their turn, a bunch of other stuff. But what I really like is what Skabbik does. Skabbik has got the ability to befoul a piece of terrain. And then if Skabbik's Plague Pack, his kind of unique unit, are contesting that objective, that means the enemy can't contest the objective. So I think what he was doing is he was screening Skabbik's Plague Pack with a big unit of, let's say, Plague Bearers, and those Plague Bearers are just being like, cool, you can't get a Skabbik's Plague Pack, and we're all good, which I really like that. I think that's really fun tech. To add on to that, he took 2 units of Nurglings, who obviously can Deep Strike, which is also really good, and then that means you're going to be able to score battle tactics easier, and then 2 units of 6 Furies, who, when they activate in combat, they get to make a retreat move, and they move 12 inches, so they get to go grab objectives. So he's given himself lots of tools for holding objectives and stopping his opponent from holding objectives, and also utility for battle tactics. I really like that as well. So a bunch of different stuff there. Really cool. Both inspiring lists. 2 players with inspiring lists doing really well. Congratulations to both of them. In the 4-1, we've got Kyle Callip with his Ossiarch Bone Reapers in Mortis Praetorians. And then we've got Matt the Nooge, with his Darkwalkers, Beasts of Chaos. Doug Janowski with his Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Normyriad. And then Tad Batten with his Gloomspike Gits, Jaws of Mork. Okay, so one of the Mortis Praetorians version of the OBR has got Catacross, Arcan, Leech Cavalos, and Mortis and Bone Shaper. 5 Death Riders, 30 Mortec Guard, and 2 Morghast Archai with, 2 Morghast Archai. So it's interesting not having Mortec Guard with the Harvester, but the Archai in the countercharge army seems to make a lot of sense. Shut down the ability for opponents to do command abilities. Don't forget Archai, very good at the minute. Lots of people taking them in their lists, and they love them. Noah Mortis in that list as well. I know, huge love. Then Beast of Chaos, the Nuge. Doomball, Great Shaman, very minimal at the moment. If you're not taking Be'lakor, I think you go very minimal on your leaders. 10 Ungor, 9 Bulgor, 10 Ungor Raiders. 2 lots of 10 Ungor Raiders. And then 2 units of Beast of Chaos Zangor Enlightened. and then a unit of 3 Beast of Chaos Slangor Fiendbloods. I think this is like a fairly the Nuge thing. Not many other people have done this. I think it's because you can make this unit go very, very fast, and they can kind of open up screens before you drop in some of your other units, like your big unit of 9 Bulgor. And the Beast of Chaos Slangor Enlightened also mean that you don't need to deep strike a unit. Instead, you can make that a unit that go quite fast. And again, they do the same job as the Fiendbloods, and they're all on foot, which is fun. And then a Cockatrice for kind of defending and making it so your opponent can't hit you back quite as well. I like that a lot. I think that's really cool. The other Bone Raper list in Normyriad is Arcan, Catacross, and Ossifector. And then 5 Death Riders. You're always going to see 5 Death Riders because the battle tactic, 30 Mortek Guard, 2 lots of 10 Mortek Guard, and a Gothazar Harvester. So again, like Catacross is just an auto-include, and then Arcan, yes or no. And then still an incredibly solid army. And then the Gloomspite Gits list is Jaws of Mork, with a little note on it, +1 attack on the charge. Love that. Absolutely massive shout out to Tad. With Scragrot, Squig Boss on Nasher Squig, Madcap Shaman, a Web Spinner Shaman, 2x24 Squig Herd, 10 Boingrot Bounders, 2 units of 5 Boingrot Bounders, and Gobblepalooza. I think probably Boingrot Bounders are one of the best cavalry units in the game right now, if not the best cavalry unit in the game. I think they're particularly good, especially if you throw Hoarfrost on them. That becomes even crazier. But again, a great list. Loads of bodies, loads of wounds, very fast, and does some amazing damage, which I think is really, really cool. Okay, I hope everyone had fun at that event. SoCal, a little bit smaller than I would have expected, but you know, it is what it is. But shout out to both those 2 players in the 5-0 bracket for inspiring us, because not only did they win the event, they also won the event with some absolutely out there lists, which you rarely see. And I think that's particularly cool. So I love to see that. So, you know, and again, that American meta being very specific and, you know, doing really well. And I think that's really inspiring for most of us around the world. So that's huge. With 36 players, the Duck Stravaganza 2 event held in the USA at the wonderful Tables and Towers gaming venue had 1-5-0 in Caleb Walters of the Bottom Table Bullies. I got to see Caleb. I was literally at a castle with him like 2 weeks ago. Shout out to him. And he was playing Disciples of Zinch, Guild of Summoners. And he's, again, quite an inspiring different list on the top tables. Guild of Summoners, so you can summon more Lords of Change if you get some fate points, which you get via spells or your opponent casting spells. 1 Lord of Change, and he's got a Demon Spark in there, so that's going to immediately give him 3 fate points at the start, so he's only going to need to get 6 out of the rest of his spell casting. Then he's got 2 Magisters, and then he's got 2 units of 10 Karak Acolytes and a unit of 10 Zangor. Now, pretty standard so far in most ways, but the very fun bit that he's got is an allied unit of Blitzbarb Archers for obviously shooting off an opponent's screen. And then he's got himself a unit of 6 Varangard with a Fell Spear, which is fun. Now, they're going to get the Mark of Zinch, and I think as pointed out last week, you can't use Fate Dice, I'm pretty certain, to auto-sort the charge, but you can give them a 5-up ward save. And also, you're definitely probably going to be able to get off a Mystic Shield with your Lord of Change, which is pretty good. So you've got a tough unit that's very survivable, that's going to do a lot of damage, which I think is very good. So yeah, 6 Varangard in there. And I think, no, he doesn't have it. I was thinking if he had Hoarfrost, that might add to it, but he doesn't. But he does have that Shield of Fate, like I talked about. So quite an interesting list, because, and then he's got the Umbral Spell Portal, Burning Sigil of Zinch, and Suffocating Gravetide. So it's an army that's going to ramp up, because you're going to keep summoning more and more Lords of Change. And it's an army that's got some really good punch. The one thing the Zinch army has always lacked is a hammer unit. So I think a unit of Varangard is a really good shout for that. So excellent work by Caleb. Let's look at the 4-1s from the Duck Stravaganza event. Let's do that, shall we? And in the 4-1, we got Caleb's brother, Nicholas Walters. Then we got Frank Sylvester. So Nicholas is running Ironjaw's Bloodtooths. Got Karajan Overlords being played by Frank. We've got Matthew Obringer with an awesome Skaven list, Jeremy Hauk with Sons of Behemoth, and then Jacob Brandon with a really inspiring Fireslayers list. So Nicholas Walters is just running what I would probably consider to be a pretty classic Ironjaw's list. He was running Bloodtooths, so his Gore Grunters become Battle Line, War Chanter, Weird Knob Shaman, and Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. And then he's got a War Chanter. But the important part is he's just got Scragrot as an ally. Just 1 Scragrot. So 2 War Chanters, a Shaman, a Maw Crusher, and Scragrot. Then 2 units of 6 Gore Grunters, and then 10 Brutes. And 10 Brutes is also fairly new as well, which I think is quite fun. So Gore Grunters can go really fast if they want to. Scragrot means that you can't just sit around against this army, because you're going to take some mortal wounds at range. So I quite like that. That's really fun. Our KO list being run by Frank was, and Booze in the chat and also in the comments, please, is the Grunstock Expeditionary Force. 2 Aether Chemists, an Aether Navigator, and then an Engine Master and Dirigible Suit. And then we had 3 Gun Haulers and 2 units of 15 Thunderers. Don't forget, this is the Army of Renown, so this allows you to potentially shoot these units of 15 Thunderers twice. Okay? Pretty scary. Pretty scary, in my personal opinion. So, there we go. But only went 4-1, which is good for all of us, because we don't want it to go 5-0. We want people to forget it exists. Our Skaven list had a Grey Seer, or 2 Grey Seers, sorry, and then a Grey Seer and Screaming Bell, and had 2 of those as well. So 4 Grey Seers in total. Then a Claw Lord and a Master Molder, 20 Clan Rats, 30 Storm Vermin, and 6 Rat Ogres, and a Hell Pit Abomination. So this is a load of spells doing a load of damage at range. I'm going to deep dive the Skaven in the future, actually, because I think we're seeing a lot of Grey Seers on Screaming Bell at the minute. They're very competitively priced at 220, and I think this deserves more of a deep dive. It's very cool, and congratulations on doing so well with it. Our Sons of Behemoth list was King Brod Stomp. So this is another Army of Renown. So there's 2 Army of Renowns we've seen featured so far. King Brod, a Gatebreaker, a War Stomper, and another War Stomper. Don't forget, as well as having a 5-up ward save on King Brod, which was an issue at the beginning of Age of Sigmar 3, you've also got super secret teleporting Gargants as well, which is cool. And then finally, being run by Jacob Brandon. I'm a bit of a Jacob Brandon fanboy. He was running Firesides in Greyfjord. He had a Rune Master and an Auric Runefather on Magmadroth, built to be a bit of a fighter. Battlesmith with the Spell Ignore, Rune Master, and an Auric Flamekeeper. Then he had 10 Volkite Berserkers, 15 Hearthguard, and then 10 Volkite Berserkers with bladed Sling Shields. The important part about this list, though, is he took the Regiment of Renown, the Arch Revenant, in Elthwyn's Thorns, which is a unit of 5 Gossamid Archers and an Arch Revenant. And whenever you charge this unit of Gossamids, they can obviously do a stand and shoot. And on a 2+, they don't just get to move away, but they teleport away along with the Arch Revenant to somewhere else. This is quite fun, actually, because this gives you a really mobile unit for grabbing little objectives or moving around the board, as well as some ranged threat to target enemy characters, which I think is really good as well. But ultimately, it also means that you get to screen your Fire Slayers, so as you're charging them, this unit is going to block you out, and then the Fire Slayers can countercharge, which I think is very cool. So some lovely tech, and Jacob is just a very smart player, and he knows what he's doing. So I think that's really fun. And again, just loads of dynamic and interesting lists. Skaven in here, which is cool. Love to see that. Fire Slayers with a different bit of tech is fun as well. Even the Iron Jaws, which has been like the most cookie cutter list since, the Iron Jaws book came out, which was at the beginning of Age of Sigmar 3, has got Skragrot as an ally, and it's also brought in big units of brutes, which is fun and interesting as well. So yeah, just a really fun event with loads of different lists. Really cool to see. Let's look at the next one. Our next event takes us to sunny England and the Gaff Jamboree, organised by Mark Ward. Shout out to Mark. Mark was able to get himself 28 players over in England, battling it out at the top tables, which is very cool. And then this weekend, our winner was Mike Stewart with his Idoneth Deepkin Futh One army. And he had himself Lotan and an Ishran Tidecaster, and then a Leviathan, and then the rest of the army was made up of Alapexes. I think he got himself 11 Alapexes in this list. There's really not much to say. They're just a great, dual unit. They shoot, they fight. They're sharks with harpoon launchers on them, which is a nice kind of dichotomy. For so long, sharks and whales, etc., have had harpoons launched at them. It makes sense that they eventually put harpoons on top of themselves. So anyway, putting the harpoons on top of the sharks makes a lot of sense. But in reality, what you're looking at is just a prodigious... I think it's something like 48 shots at 38 inches effective range, because they move 14, they shoot 24, so it's 38 inches. They all do D3 damage. So just it's a Sharknado. It's just a Sharknado. And well done to Mike for doing really well. In the 4-1 bracket, we have a Sylvaneth list going 3 wins and 2 draws. And then this is Jay Hine. Pete Brizzo with his Sons of Behemoth with the Rabble Rouser going 4-1. And then Joe Jackson with his Idoneth Deepkin. Not quite as many sharks as Mike. So going 4-1 as well with his Deepkin. So if we look at the lists, Sylvaneth is quite an interesting list, actually. Very dynamic, sort of stuff you haven't seen before. Branch Witch, Warsong Rev, 2 units of 10 Dryads, some Tree Revs, and then a unit of, I'm pretty certain, 6 Spike Rider Lancers, and then a unit of 10 Gossamer Archers, and a unit of 6 Kurnoth Hunters with Greatswords, which is very weird. Very, very weird. So this is very different to what we've seen previously. The Gossamer Archers obviously can do all of that great shooting, but also can retreat after they stand and shoot, so they're going to be able to block up a whole bunch of the board. Kurnoth Hunters with Greatswords obviously can countercharge really nicely, with the Spike Rider Lancers going very fast and being able to charge in, do some combat, and then teleport out as well. Dryads for holding objectives, I guess, and then Warsong Rev for doing a bunch of spells. Very cool list. Very rarely see that mix of units, and I like it a lot. Deepkin, from the list being played by Joe Jackson, Eidolon, Mathlan, Aspect to the Sea, Achillean King, Lotan, and then a unit of 3 Alapexes, a unit of 6 Morsar Guard, a unit of 3 Morsar Guard, and guess what? More Alapexes in this list as well. So, and then a Leviathan. So again, that seems a situation where I think we've got 3 Alapexes and a Leviathan in this list for a bunch of shooting and fighting, but we've mixed it up with some Morsar Guard here as well. And then our Sons of Behemoth list being played by Pete, and again, just a nice little mix-up. War Stomper, King Brod, and a Kraken Eater. But then he's taken the Rabble Rouser, which is the Regiment of Renown, with 5 Gobblepalooza, 12 Squig Herd, and 10 Squig Hoppers. And don't forget, all of those Gargants now are going to get to run and charge because of the Rabble Rouser, which is really fun. Nice little event again, you know. Some different lists. Even our Gargant list has got that Regiment of Renown. So between the Regiments of Renown and Armies of Renown, we're really getting these kind of mix-up of different armies now. So while it's still an army that we know, it's playing in a different way to the way we think, which we love. And that Sylvaneth list is super cool. Love that. So I hope everyone at Gaff had a great time. Our next event is the Age of Sigmar Grand Tournament being held at the XPG. And our first place was Mitch Kawaja. This was an event with 25 players, and this is over in Canada. He was running Blades of Khorne in Gortide, and he had Scarbrand, a Blood Secretor, a Lord of Khorne on Juggernaut, a Slaughter Priest, another Slaughter Priest, and the Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury. 1 unit of Blood Reavers, 2 units of Blood Reavers, a unit of 10 Blood Warriors, and 2 units of 3 Mighty Skull Crushers. So, very much like with the rest of the Khorne armies, it's all about pushing around Scarbrand to do all of the damage in there. And then everything else is about blocking up the enemy, specifically with those Mighty Skull Crushers or even those Blood Warriors, which is just going to be, that's just what they do. They just stop you from moving, and then they just push in a giant Scarbrand and do all of the damage, which is very, very cool. Let's go look at the 4-1. In the 4-1 bracket, we had Michael Sabetti with his Seraphon, Ruben Parker with his Stormcast Eternals, Yuri Shivani with his KO, and then Levan Shivani with his Gloomspike Gits. I've definitely both got your names wrong twice there. But I just need to shout out Yuri's army because it's just stunning. Podcast listeners, you won't be able to see this, but here's a picture of Yuri's army where he's kit-bashed some Caradron Overlords. I think this is an entire Ironclad on top of his Leviathan. Looks amazing. And just deserves a bit of respect and love. They, both him and his brother, run a YouTube channel called Bulldog Wargaming. And if you get the chance to go check it out, please do. And also, if you get a chance to listen to the Combat Phase podcast, you should also do that, because my man, Kenny Lull in the chat, donating 5 gift subscriptions. Love that guy. Shout out to him. Okay. Right, so let's go look at the list. The KO list we were just talking about is in Barrack Zon with an Archanaut Admiral, a Navigator, Brock Grungson, and then a unit of 6 Endrin Riggers. It might be a unit of 9, actually. A unit of Archanaut Company. Yeah, a unit of 9 Endrin Riggers, 2 units of 6 Endrin Riggers, and then an Archanaut Frigate, and he's got 2 of those. And this is very much like Phil Sprigger's list over here from the UK. Phil's been running this a lot. I'm a massive fan of the Endrin Rigger double frigate build. Talked about this when the KO book dropped. I think that's my preference. It's much more engaging for you as a player. It's very fast. You're doing lots of output. You can heal your units up really well as well. Massive fan of that. So yeah, really like that list. It's my preferred KO build rather than shooting, which is generally uninteractive. Seraphon list being played by from Fangs of Sotek, being played by Michael Sabetti, was running Slan Starmaster, Skink Starseer, Lord Croak, Ashroth Banner Bearer, and Skink Starseer. The Slan's the General with the Space Folder Stave and the Lord of Celestial Resonance. And then it's some Skinks, Saurus Guard, a unit of 10, and then 1 Bastillodon with the Arc of Sotek, Geminids, Suffocating Gravetoid, and Pendulum. So this is just very much a croak bomb, as per usual, with the slan obviously backing it up, doing all that summoning. I do like the Arc of Sotek. That's very popular at the minute. Just something with a 2-up armor save and, blocking the enemy up. And then the endless spell choice is obviously just really good. Geminids to shut down command abilities, Suffocating Gravetide to deal with hordes, and Pendulum for doing some stupid amount of mortal wounds, which is very cool. The Stormcast Eternals list is legit wicked. It's a Signs of the Storm list, and this is being played by, let me just shout it out, Ruben Parker. Shout out to Ruben. And he's got 4 Knight Velexas in his list. Love that. So that's just that AoE mortal wound damage I was talking about earlier. 3 units of 5 Liberators as battle line. And then 4 units of 3 Annihilators. When they drop down, they do mortal wounds. And when they charge, they do mortal wounds. And then 4 units of Stormstrike Chariots, who also do mortal wounds like Ogres when they charge, which is cool. So some good armor saves, 2-up armor saves on the Annihilators, 3-ups on the Stormstrike Chariots with 12 wounds apiece. So that's 48 wounds of Stormstrike Chariot woundage. And then all of that mortal wound damage straight away from the Knight Velexus. Very, very fun list. Very cool. And will look really cool on the table as well. Then finally, our Gits list being played by Levan. He's running Trug's Trogherd, so that Army of Renown featured again. Dankhold Trug Boss, get some love for Trug in the chat. Trug, Trug, Trug. Then a unit of Rock Guts, I think it's a unit of 6. 2 units of Fell Waters, 1 unit of Dankhold Troggoths, a unit of 2, and then another unit of 6 Rock Gut Troggoths as well. So if he goes into shooting and he hits the shrine on his head for the bonk stonks, then you can only hit this army on 6s. Otherwise, the whole army basically gains a 5-up ward save, and those Dankhold Troggoths are going to do an amazing amount of combat damage. So those are all the 4 ones, and again, some pretty inspiring lists. The Stormcast list is different with that mortal wound damage coming from the Velexes and also the Chariots, which is super fun. I love that. We get a Trugs list, so we've got an Army of Renown in there as well, which is cool, and you love to see that, which is just fun. Our Seraphon list is fairly cookie cutter, and then my preferred KO list. So shout out to everyone in Canada. Hope you had a great time. Our last event with 24 players is the Sugar and Dice annual AOS tournament being held over in the United States of America, organized by Mike Lease. Shout out to Mike. In the 5-0 bracket, we've got one player, the legend that is Kevin Zoren, with his Nighthaunt Scarlet Doom. Lady Alinda, Guardian of Souls again, 2 of them, Krulgas Cruciator, and then 3 units of 10 Bladegeist Revenants, 5 Hex Wraiths, 10 Chain Rasps, a Black Coach, 2 units of Mimron Banshees, and the Mortalis Terminexus. So this is a Mimron Banshees doing the AoE spell defense. The Mortalis Terminexus doing quite a lot of AoE mortal wounds, actually. The Black Coach being able to ping off that and doing its mortal wounds as well as charging up. Bladegeist Revenants doing their mortal wounds when they charge, and then doing okay in a fight. I guess Hex Wraiths for blocking up the board, and Guardian of Souls in there for being able to heal and res those units. Krulgas Cruciator for shutting down the damage coming into the army as well. And Lady Alinda for the big heals later on, which I think is very cool. Then in the 4-1 bracket, we got Jordan Salas with his Soulblight Gravelords, which he should be super chuffed with that result. We also seem to have a 4-1. It seems to have been a bit fucky. Jeff Hoffer with his Ogre More Tribes also in the 4-1 bracket. Sorry, the 5-0 bracket as well. He was running a Butcher, a Firebelly, a Slaughtermaster, 3 units of Iron Guts, with 2 units being a unit of 4 and 1 being a unit of 8, 2 units of 6 Ogre Gluttons, all in a Meat Fist army. Yeah, all in a Meat Fist army as well. I think this was written on War Scroll Builder, so yeah, Battlescribe. Don't forget, don't support Battlescribe. The man that runs it is a thief. It's important not to use Battlescribe. You can use either War Scroll Builder on Games Workshop community site, which is free, or you can use the app. I don't like you using the app because it doesn't tell you. It just says some unit of Gluttons. I'm like, how many Gluttons? But anyway, going 5-0 with that is super good. You should be really proud. Plus Iron Guts on the board, 11 out of 10. You should be super chuffed with that. And then finally, that's it. That's all. We got Caden Frickle with his Maggotkin of Nurgle. Caden Frickle with his Maggot. So let's conclude. Let's think about what we think about the meta this week. And the first thing to say is, if you would like to support the show on the honestwargamer.com Patreon, that'd be great. It's not that, but Patreon, Honest Wargamer, please help support the show. That'd be good. If not, if the best you can do is do like, subscribe, and leave a comment, that'd be great. But my other conclusions are, we've featured loads of different army builds this week, which is very cool. All of the events have been smaller. Now, I like smaller events. I think that's really fun. When you do start talking about 100, 200 person events, they're like slightly rarer in the calendar, but we have had a huge amount of people playing Age of Sigmar this weekend. There were 418 people playing Age of Sigmar this weekend across 9 countries. That's a really healthy environment that we're in at the minute, which I think is good. So smaller events, and therefore I think that allows some slightly more creative lists to play, which is cool. The Nurgle lists we've seen have been really fun. The Deepkin list was really great. We've seen loads of armies of renown. Like we've seen most of them, and it does seem like, unfortunately, the only bad one was the Big Pig one, which kind of feels really, really unfortunate. Trug is good. Brods is definitely really good. We've also seen a bunch of regiments of renown. So we saw that amazing kind of inclusion by Jacob Brandon, which I thought was very fun. I really like that. We've seen in Pete's list, for example, we saw the Rabble Rouser as well, which I think is good. So I like that. And then we even did see a Big Pig in a Cruel Boys list as well. Or not a Cruel Boys list, a Big War list. So we've seen all these new models feature, and we're just about to get a brand new book with 4 new armies of renown being released as well. So the game, the Stormcast list was really different as well. I loved that. That was really fun. It's been really interesting. It's been really kind of wide. The list variety has been really wide as well. There's been some kind of like small moments, like everyone taking Spellcasting Savant as a grand strategy. I think is interesting. But in total, I think it's been a good week. And I think if I was like a new player trying to get into the hobby and I was to see those as the competitive results from this week, you'd think that's quite diverse. Like even armies which people are saying aren't very good, like Deepkin, are doing really well. So, I think it's in a really good spot. And I think people should feel like very confident about the game. Lots of players playing it. Lots of different armies doing well in it. Those lists being very diverse and very different. The Slaves to Darkness list being really interesting as well. And then kind of the biggest event that we've had this week in Sweden. Our top player, or our person that went 5-0, also won Best Sports. So as a community and as a hobby, feels like it's a really healthy place at the moment. I can't stop being positive about Age of Sigmar at the minute, especially from a competitive standpoint. Numbers seem good. Results seem good. Destruction seems to be doing well, which kind of always makes the game a little bit better for some reason. Not sure why. Mainly Destruction players can't read, so they're fun to hang out with. But like, it's good. I think it's a good place. I think there's some armies that need maybe a little bit of a look at. And we've got all these new armies of renown about to come out, which I think is interesting as well. And I'd still like to see Blizzard just get taken out of the game. But other than that, I would say that I feel the game is in a really good place, which is pretty much as good as we can get. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thanks for listening.